Okay, the last 10-1 video that I'm going to make is the practice, because we actually didn't do this as homework this time, and so I think this would be good to go over some more problems. So number 12 on the practice on page 123, it says this is what is the value of x in the equation 7x minus 30 equals 180. That's another way to say solve for x. So I don't have distribution. I also have no like terms to collect on the left because these are different terms. On the right, I only have one term. Step 3 says get all my variables on one side using addition subtraction. All my variables are already on the left. So I'm on step 4, which says to add and subtract to get all my numbers on the other side. So my variables on the left, I'm going to add 30 so that it will go away on the left. And that will leave me 7x equals, and when I do 180 plus 30, or 18 plus 3, you're going to get 21. And then bring down your 0. Okay, and then what? The next thing is what is happening to x? It is being multiplied, so I need to divide. That is the inverse operation. That gives me 1x. And I can see 7 goes into 21 3 times, and then I still have this 0. So 7 times 30 should give me 210. And then you would want to do your check step over to the side. Okay? And that is just plugging in your answer and making sure it works. 7 times 30, I just said it would equal 210, and then minus that 30 off will give us 180. So the check step works. Number 13, again, solve for x, and I have a fraction. So again, I'm going to move, from my last video I had to move my number over because when I have a fraction, I want to multiply by the reciprocal. It's being multiplied to x, which leads us to believe we need to divide. But when we divide a fraction, we keep, change, flip. That means we keep the first fraction, we change it to multiplication, and then we flip the fraction. So I'm just going to go right into flipping the fraction and multiplying. So the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3, and it's still negative because a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive x, which is what I need. And everything cancels out on this side. So then I have negative 4/3 on this side. Now, remember, this can be like 36 over 1, which means 1 and 4, nothing is going to cancel there, but to do some reducing, I know that, notice here that 3 can go into 16 12 times, and 3 goes into 3 once. So then all I have is a 1 on the bottom, which means I'm going to have a whole number answer, and then 12 times 4 is going to be 48. But I have to remember this is a negative right here, so negative times a positive is a negative. So my answer should be negative 48. Okay, I believe we did this one on Plickers as well in class. We did not do one like this, and there may be one of these on your unit test. I'm not 100% sure, but it is in the book. We did not get to number 7 on page 122. That is why I didn't assign this as homework, because we didn't have a chance to go over this. Now, this is where we need to describe each step. So we're basically proving, knowing all of the information we know about solving equations, and we're explaining what we're doing. So if you look carefully, the first line here, 3y plus 7 minus 5y equals 13, that's just the original equation. That's the reason it's there. And if we look at our step chart, the first thing it says to do on our step chart is to do any distribution, or the distributive property. Well, we don't have any parentheses and nothing's being multiplied with the distributive property. So we don't have that. The second step says to collect any like terms that we might have. So get everything together on the left and everything together on the right. Well, on the right, we just have 13. But if you look here, 3y and negative 5y would give me negative 2y. And then the plus 7 would just come down. So the reason that we went from the original equation to this equation is because we were combining like terms. So that's the reason. So the next thing's happening is they subtracted 7 from both sides. So we can say that, subtract 7 from both sides, but it's also an inverse operation. And I'm going to write that because I need you guys to remember that we are doing this because it's the opposite of what is happening. Inverse operation, subtract 7 from each side. And then we have, so after we subtract 7, we get negative 2y equals 6. And then the next step down here, they're dividing both sides by negative 2. That is also an inverse operation because negative 2 is being multiplied to y. So inverse operation of divide by negative 2 on each side. And when they did that, they got the solution. And then that was it. So this was 3 steps. All right, so now we have this crazy equation for number 15 that we need to solve for x, but now x is inside parentheses. And this is also not distributive property because nothing's being multiplied outside. So in order to get inside the parentheses, everything around the parentheses has to go away. So that means this divided by 7, we need to find the inverse operation of divide, which is multiply, and we have to do the quantity that's being divided. So we're going to multiply by 7 on both sides. That will cancel the 7 out and just let us write the x plus 2 that can come out of the parentheses now. Now I can probably use my calculator for 14 times 7, but I happen to know it's 98. And then I can do the inverse operation of what's happening to x, which is now the addition. So the inverse is subtraction. And that means x is 96. So because this was kind of complicated, I'm going to go ahead and check. I'm going to check anyway, but I'm only going to show you because it was complicated. All right, so if I put a 96 in for x plus 2, and I put that in parentheses, then divide by 7. My problem says it should equal 14. 96 plus 2 is 98. I'm not sure what I was writing there. Divided by 2 happens to equal 14. So it checks. And last but not least, number 16. It's just another solve for, actually I think I wrote it wrong. It says, no I didn't, it's an X. I thought maybe I had a different letter there, but if ever there's a letter you don't like say they use the letter P, you can always change it to an X if you prefer. Just change it back when you're answering on the question. So inverse operations, because I don't have any distribution, I don't have to collect like terms, it's already done, and now I can go ahead and subtract 6 from both sides, which gives me negative 3x equals, now be careful here, this is both negatives, which means I'm adding them together and keeping them a negative. Okay, a lot of you would have gone ahead and done some subtraction there and gotten like negative 11. That's if this was a positive, but negative and a negative together makes it a bigger negative. Then I divide by what's happening to x is multiply, so I have to divide, and that gives me 7. Now it's a positive 7 because it's a negative divided by a negative. And again, you should show a check step for this. Put 7 up here, you get negative 21 plus 6 will give you the negative 15. All right, and that was the 10-1 practice on page 123.